Cold storage options for crypto. Security versus accessibility. The crypto storage spectrum. The fundamental challenge in crypto asset management lies in balancing two competing priorities: security and accessibility. This spectrum mirrors our previously discussed strategic asset pyramid framework. At the bottom of the pyramid, we have the fixed tier, which naturally aligns with high-security cold storage solutions as truly long-term holdings. These would include securely generated paper wallets. In the middle, we have the semi-fixed tier that represent positions you might adjust during significant market phases. These would include software or hardware wallets. At the top, we have the trading tier, which requires immediate accessibility, typically held directly at a crypto exchange. Paper and metal plate wallets. Paper or metal plate wallets represent perhaps the most conceptually simple approach to cold storage. These physical objects contain your private key and public address, typically printed as QR codes and alphanumeric strings. For security reasons, keys are often not printed directly but indirectly using specialized encoding schemes. Metal plates, stainless steel or titanium with etched or stamped keys, evolved from paper wallets to address durability concerns against physical threats like fire, water, and degradation. While theoretically safer than hardware wallets due to their complete separation from digital devices, paper and metal plate wallets introduce practical challenges. Their security stems from simplicity, with no firmware, no supply chain vulnerabilities, and no electronic components that could fail or be remotely compromised. A properly generated paper wallet stored in a secure location represents an excellent fortress for long-term storage. However, the creation and usage processes introduce critical vulnerabilities. Ideally, generation should occur on an air-gapped system, as any malware present during creation could compromise your funds immediately. The most significant limitation comes during transactions. If you import the private key into a software wallet, the paper wallet's core security advantage is lost. This is acceptable if the paper wallet was intended for one-time use. If you want to keep the security advantage of the paper wallet, you need to convert through an air-gapped computer. Air-gapped computer wallets. Air-gapped computer wallets use computers that have never connected to the internet and are physically incapable of establishing network connections. An air-gapped wallet system typically includes a specialized wallet software running on an air-gapped computer. The computer often has a dedicated operating system designed specifically for cryptocurrency security. Such a computer typically has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth capabilities, physically removed and specialized camera for reading QR codes to transfer data. Some solutions will use USB drives. A well-implemented multi-sig solution with air-gapped computers and paper wallets provides extraordinary security against both remote attacks and physical threats. However, this would require substantial technical knowledge and might be impractical for assets you might need to mobilize quickly. Multi-signature. Multi-signature, or multi-sig, is a security approach that requires multiple private keys to authorize a transaction, regardless of where those keys are stored. Multi-sig wallets require multiple keys, for example 2 of 3 or 3 of 5, to sign and authorize transactions. These keys can be distributed across different devices, locations, or individuals. The approach works using cryptographic protocols built into many cryptocurrencies and can be implemented on any type of wallet. To spend funds, the transaction must be signed by the required number of keys. After collecting the necessary signatures, the transaction is broadcast to the network. Multi-sig wallets provide high security by ensuring no single key or device can authorize a transaction alone, but add complexity and coordination requirements. Hardware wallets. Hardware wallets represent a middle ground approach balancing strong security with reasonable accessibility. These specialized devices store private keys in secured hardware, typically connecting to computers only when transactions need signing. When disconnected, they remain isolated from network-based threats. Leading manufacturers have developed increasingly sophisticated security architectures with varying implementation complexity. Hardware wallets require physical interaction to confirm transactions. Often, you must click buttons on the device itself to approve any transfer of funds. The primary advantage of hardware wallets lies in their security-accessibility balance. They provide significant protection against remote attacks while allowing assets to be mobilized within minutes or hours rather than days. Their user interfaces have become progressively more intuitive, making them accessible to less technical users while maintaining security fundamentals. Except for theft of the device, the main theoretical vulnerability comes in the transaction process where the hardware is connected to the internet. However, these wallets might provide sufficient security if implemented with a multi-sig solution. This will be a personal risk assessment you need to make. Software wallets. Software wallets offer greater accessibility with further security compromises. These applications, whether desktop programs, mobile apps, or browser extensions, store encrypted private keys on general-purpose computing devices. Their primary advantage lies in immediate accessibility, with transactions requiring just a few taps or clicks. The security limitations of software wallets stem from their environment. Operating on devices used for multiple purposes exposes them to a broader attack surface, malware, keyloggers, screen capture tools, and other threats present on general-purpose computers and smartphones. Even with proper security practices, these wallets inevitably inherit some of the security vulnerabilities of their host devices. One security enhancement is maintaining a dedicated computer exclusively for cryptocurrency transactions. This machine should run only essential software and avoid casual internet browsing or installation of unfamiliar apps. A regular computer dedicated for crypto can dramatically improve security for both software and hardware wallet users, ETFs, and other financial products. At perhaps the most accessible end of the spectrum, we have what we might call paper Bitcoin, instruments that encompass various derivative exposures, including futures contracts, ETFs, and other financial products tracking Bitcoin's price. These instruments offer convenience and integration with traditional financial systems, but introduce counterparty risk and potential divergence from the underlying asset during market disruptions. While requiring minimal technical knowledge and providing immediate liquidity through traditional brokerage accounts, these products cannot provide the same guarantees of ownership as self-custody options. ETFs might be less suitable for active trading as fees typically are significantly higher compared to exchanges. Exchange wallets. Exchange-based wallets place your assets under third-party control. Centralized exchanges hold private keys on behalf of users, typically in a combination of hot wallets and cold storage, with most assets in the latter for reputable exchanges. This approach eliminates technical complexity for users, providing instant transactions with familiar username/password authentication. Counterparty risk exists. Exchanges have a complex history of hacks, insolvency, and mismanagement. During periods of market stress, withdrawal restrictions or delays may emerge precisely when access matters most. Diversification among exchanges will improve security. However, a scenario where most exchanges are shut down simultaneously cannot be entirely ruled out. Where permitted, leverage means you can commit less capital per position, reducing your exposure, but also increasing the risk of forced liquidation during volatility. Practical implementation and conclusion. Implementing an effective crypto storage strategy requires several practical steps beyond theoretical understanding. Begin with an honest assessment of your technical comfort level. Overestimating your capabilities can create greater vulnerability than choosing slightly less secure but properly implemented solutions. In fact, choosing not to engage with cryptocurrencies at all is an option where you can focus on more manageable assets. For those new to self-custody, consider starting with a wallet holding a small amount of cryptocurrency before transitioning to significant holdings. This approach allows you to become familiar with key processes, setup, transaction signing, backup verification with minimal capital at risk. Only after demonstrating successful management of this pilot implementation should you consider moving substantial assets to self-custody. Document your storage architecture with appropriate security, explaining where keys are stored, how recovery phrases are secured, and what steps heirs would need to follow if necessary. This documentation should be comprehensive enough for recovery without being so explicit that it compromises security if discovered by unauthorized parties. When implementing multi-signature or distributed storage solutions, conduct full recovery tests multiple times before entrusting significant assets. These tests should follow your documentation exactly, verifying that assets remain accessible even under adverse scenarios like lost devices or inaccessible locations. The security accessibility spectrum ultimately represents a personal framework requiring customization based on your technical capabilities, risk assessment, and portfolio objectives. By aligning storage solutions with your strategic asset pyramid allocations, you create a cohesive system where each holding receives appropriate protection without unnecessary accessibility barriers.